Hello students, welcome all. Today we will start our first topic, which is gradient of a scalar function. For this topic we should have some background of vector algebra, which I hope you all have. So let's start our topic, which is gradient of a scalar function. So first of all, consider a scalar function. Let us consider a scalar function phi, which is the function of space coordinate x, y and z, and we have considered this function is, this is our coordinate system, say x, y and z. In this coordinate system or in this space, this scalar function is continuous at all points. So at any point, if we want to see the value of this phi, then this value is continuous, or this value is what we say finite. Okay, this value should not be infinite, otherwise this function won't be continuous. So our first condition for any function to be a scalar function is the function has to be continuous at all the points in the given space or in the given field which we have considered. So we have considered phi as a scalar function of x, y, z, and for this function to be scalar, what is the condition? It has to be continuous. Has to be continuous at all points in space. Okay, in this Cartesian coordinate system, this function has to be continuous. Okay, then we can consider this function as a scalar function. And now suppose we have considered any point P in this Cartesian coordinate system having coordinates x, y and z. Okay, and now if we move from this point to this point, say Q, and this is the displacement from P to Q, say this displacement is dr. The position vector of this point P from this origin O is r. That is, OP vector is defined as, which is r vector, which is defined as x, I, y, j and z, k, where I, j, k are the directions along x, y and z axis, and x, y, z are the coordinates of this point P. Okay, so we can write this vector like this. And if we displace from P to Q by a small vector dr, in that case the coordinates of Q will be x plus dx, y plus dy and z plus dz. These will be the coordinates of Q. Okay, so when we move from P to Q, okay, what will happen? This scalar function phi will change. Okay, what we said earlier, the function has to be continuous. It has some value at this point P, but when you move in this space at any point, the value of phi will change because this coordinates will get changed. X, y, z will change. So correspondingly, your value of phi will also gets changed. So when we move from P to Q, then one thing is sure, there will be change in this phi. Okay, and so if that change is that small change, because we have moved a small distance from P to Q, which is dr, so corresponding to this small value, the change in phi will be d phi. Okay, there will be a change in value of phi, and say that value is d phi. Okay, so Now how we can write this d phi? Okay, d phi is what? D phi is the change in the value of function which is phi when we move along P to Q. Okay, while moving from P to Q, we have seen all the three coordinate changes. X changes to dx, y changes to y plus dy, and z changes to z plus dz. Okay, then according to Taylor series, this change in phi, this we call change in phi, this will be equal to this value, change in phi along x axis into change in x. Okay, if we want to find the total change along x direction, that will be how much phi changes along x axis into change in x, how much x we have changed, that will give us total change in phi along x axis. But here we are calculating total change in this space, so d phi will be this curly phi over curly x dx. Next one is curly phi over curly y dy, and next is curly phi over curly z dz. This will give us the total change in phi along when we move from P to Q, or when we displace by displacement dr. Okay, the position vector corresponding to this Q will be, this will be r plus dr vector. Okay, so this is how we can define this change in phi when we move from P to Q. Okay, now you see this right hand side. Okay, we can write this right hand side like this also. Okay, this can be written as like this also. This d phi will be written as, we can write this curly over curly x I cap, curly over curly x plus j cap curly phi over curly y cap plus k cap curly phi over curly z. Okay, this term into dot product. Okay, again dot product, I hope you all are aware what I am talking about. In vector calculus, vector algebra, dot product, cross product are the things. So dot product means it is also known as scalar product. So this term can be written as scalar product of these two terms. This is I cap dx, j cap dy, and z cap dz. Okay, so this term, which is the change in scalar function, which will be this value as per Taylor series expansion. Okay, so this term can be written as scalar product of these two terms. Now when you multiply these two terms, okay, you already know this will get multiplied by this term, and I dot I cap will be 1. Okay, when you multiply two identical vectors, and I, j and k are, they are the unit vectors along x, y and z. Okay, so these things you already know. Okay, when you multiply this I dot I, okay, or j dot j or k dot k, it is always 1. Okay, and if you do this I dot j, j dot k, k dot I, okay, then it is always 0, because how we write this dot product? Okay, this a dot b is ab cos theta. Okay, so if both vectors are same, that means what is theta? Theta is 0. Okay, cos 0 is 1. Okay, and I, j and k are, they are unit vectors having magnitude 1. So I dot I, j dot j, k dot k will become 1. But for this vector I dot j, okay, the theta between this was our x, I cap, this was our j cap, y, and this is our k cap. The angle between I and j is 90. Okay, So this will be AB cos theta, cos 90, and cos 90 is 0. So because of that, this term will become 0. All the cos terms. Okay, and also you know this thing for dot product. A dot B is always equal to B dot A. Okay, so all the cos term will become 0, and when you multiply these two terms, then ultimately we will get this thing only. Okay, so using this dot product property, this term can be written as dot product of these two terms. Okay, this term, this first term, now we call this as gradient of phi. Okay, so this first term we call it as gradient phi, or in short we call it as grad phi. Okay, this is how we written. Or more in general, there is a symbol which we use for this grad, that is a triangle in downward direction. Okay, not in upward direction, a triangle in downward direction. This is a symbol for this gradient. Okay, now onward, whenever we say this gradient or grad, we always use this symbol. Okay, so this term, this first term will be our gradient, and it is I cap curly phi over curly x, j cap curly phi over curly y, k cap curly phi over curly z. Okay, so this term is known as gradient of a scalar function, because of phi is a scalar function. So this d phi which we have calculated, d phi will be that first term which we defined as gradient of phi. That means this del phi dot, and that other term which was I cap dx plus j cap dy plus k cap dz was actually nothing but what it is, it was dr vector. Okay, if you remember r vector, how we have defined, it was xi yj z k cap. Then similarly this dr vector will be dx I cap dy j cap and dz k cap. Okay, so here when we have written this thing, that d phi was this thing I cap curly phi over curly x, j cap curly phi over curly y, plus z cap curly phi over curly z, dot product with this I cap dx, j cap dy and k cap dz. Okay, so from this term only, okay, this first term is nothing but our this del phi. Okay, and this second term is nothing but this dr. So this total change in phi can be written as del phi dot dr. Okay, or this is nothing but grad phi dot dr. Okay, this symbol is also read as del. Okay, the symbol is, how we read this symbol, this is del operator. Okay, this is del, or del phi is nothing but what it is grad phi or gradient of phi. Okay, so total change in phi will be grad phi dot product with dr vector. This is how we define d phi. But what we were interested to define the gradient of phi. Okay, so what we want to define this gradient of phi, and this is gradient phi dot dr vector. Then we know this thing, if we have these two vectors having dot product, then they can be written as AB cos theta, where A and B are magnitude of these two vectors and theta is the angle between A and B. So similarly this term, this d phi will be this thing, this will become grad phi magnitude dr magnitude into cos of theta. This is how we will define this term. Okay. Now further we can rewrite this term as, now this is magnitude, we can bring this magnitude this way, this will become d phi over dr. Okay, and this is grad phi into cos of theta. Okay, so now see what is this left hand side. This is the change in phi with respect to displacement r. Okay, in the figure if you remember we moved from p to q and our displacement was dr. Okay, so this is d phi by dr will be equal to magnitude of gradient of phi into cos of theta. And what is this theta? Theta is the angle between this phi or gradient of phi and the displacement. Okay, this grad phi dot dr, where this grad phi is nothing but this del phi. This symbol, this reverse triangle symbol is read as del. Okay, which means gradient. Okay, so if you compare this del, if you remember what was this del phi, we have just written it was I cap curly phi over curly x, j cap curly phi over curly y, and k cap curly phi over curly z. Okay, and this can be written as this I cap curly over curly x, j cap curly over curly y, k cap curly over curly z into phi. Okay, we can write this. So in that way this will become del phi. Okay, so this del will be this thing. How we define this del as, this del will be I cap curly over curly x, j cap curly over curly y cap, k cap curly over curly z. Okay, and this is also known as del operator. Okay, this is known as del operator. So this del has no physical significance until unless we want to operate this function on any other function or any scalar function. Okay, until then this function do not have any meaning. Okay, it only has meaning when we have this term, then it will become gradient of phi. Okay, but alone this del has no physical significance. Similarly, in case of derivative, until unless this term dy dx, it do not have any meaning until unless we don't put any function here like this. We generally define dy by dx, means we want to derivative y with respect to x, only then it has some meaning. But this symbol alone dy by dx, it do not have any meaning. Okay, so this is an operator and this is how we define this del operator. Okay, this is a vector operator because it has these directions I, j and k. Okay, okay, now we move to our next part of this article, which is physical significance of gradient. This we have find out how we write gradient or what is a gradient. Okay, but now we will discuss what is its physical significance. Now we move further. We will further discuss the physical significance of gradient of a scalar field. So suppose in any scalar field we have joined all the points having the same value of that scalar point function. Okay, this scalar field or scalar function we have defined like this, phi at x, y, z. But suppose in a field we have many points which have same value of this phi at different x, y, z. Okay, x, y, and z is changing, but still at all those different points there might be a possibility that this function has the same value, and we have joined all those points on that surface. Okay, so that surface which we generate by joining all the points having same value of phi at different x, y, z is known as, this surface is known as level surface. Okay, that means the value of phi on this surface remains constant. Okay, so change in phi along this surface will be 0. If we move from this point to this, or to this, or to this, the change in phi will be 0, because this surface is a level surface. It has same value when we move along this surface. How we have defined this change in phi? This was del phi dot dr. Okay, which can be rewritten like this: d phi will be del phi magnitude into dr magnitude into cos of theta, where theta is the angle, between del phi and dr. Okay, theta is the angle between del phi and dr. Suppose at any point this is the direction of grad phi. Okay, and we are moving on this surface only, then this will be the direction of dr. So this will be our angle theta. Okay, so this angle will be our theta. We can rewrite this equation. This will be d phi over dr. Okay, if we remove this magnitude term, then we remove this r factor also. Okay, this will become d phi by dr, which is magnitude of gradient phi into cos of theta. Okay, this we will get. So rate of change of phi with respect to r will be equal to magnitude of gradient of phi into cos of theta. That means it depends on the direction of motion, angle theta. Okay, so this value will depends on, not only depends on gradient of phi, but also depends on the direction of motion as well. Okay, now suppose if theta is 0, okay, that means cos of theta will become 1, and that means this function, this value will be d phi over dr will be maximum, and this will be our gradient of phi. Okay, or magnitude of gradient of phi. Okay, so now we can define the magnitude of gradient of phi. What it is? It is the maximum value of rate of change of phi with respect to r. Okay, that value will give us the magnitude of gradient of phi. One thing you should remember, okay, gradient of any scalar we already know, scalar is a scalar function. Okay, but when you operate gradient or del operator on a scalar function, then ultimately what we get, we will get a vector function. Okay, gradient of phi is a vector function, and because it's a vector function, then it has to be some direction and some magnitude. So till now what we have calculated, how do we define gradient of phi. So the magnitude of the gradient of phi is defined as the rate of change of that scalar function. The maximum value of rate of change of a scalar function will be equal to the gradient of phi. In our next lecture we will talk about its direction, how we will find out the direction of gradient of phi. Thank you.